from his appearance. Then the police officer said, when we placed him in the back of the car, we could make out what he was mumbling. He said, through all that pain, through all that suffering, we could see him suffering, this young man. His heart was reciting the verses of the Almighty Lord. He said he was so immersed in the recitation that, subhanallah, you could not even tell that this young man was suffering. You could not even tell that this young man was suffering. The police officer said his clothes were soaked in blood. His bones were clearly snapped in many places. However, he continued with his unique, tender, soft voice, reciting the verses of the glorious Quran. Suddenly, the officer said, as we were listening intently, me and my partner, a shiver climbed up my spine. The hair on my arms and my legs stood up. I watched very carefully at the young man as we were driving to the hospital. His hymn became silent. He raised his hand, raised his index towards the sky, and said, La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. He said, La ilaha illallah. Thus he slumped. Thus he slumped. He said, quickly I went to the back of the seat. I felt his breathing. I felt his pulse. I felt his heart. He was dead. He was dead. He said, I could not stop staring at his face. The beauty of his face. A tear fell from my eyes, but I hid it in shame. I turned to my partner and told him that the boy's life has ceased. He's finished. That young man is finished. The police officer burst in cries. And thus when he heard his partner crying in such a manner, he could not hold himself. The whole car, the patrol car, was fogged with emotions. Was fogged with emotions as they were driving to the hospital. They reached. They struggled through the corridors, telling the nurses, the doctors, the onlookers what had happened. One of the hospital staff went and called his home. His brother picked up the phone and said, after being informed of his brother's accident, he said my brother would go and visit his only grandmother every single week who lived outside the town. And he would make sure that he would always spend time with those poor children and orphans who were idle in the streets. The whole town knew him, he said. They knew him because he used to give them Islamic literature, cassettes, books. He filled his old Mazda, his dusty old Mazda, with sugar and wheat and rice and even candies for the poor people in that town. Yet he himself was struggling to live. He himself was struggling to live. Yet he preferred those orphans, those poor children, those poor families over his life. Thus, his last words was very easy. It wasn't hard for him to utter, La ilaha illallah. Why, brothers and sisters? Because he lived La ilaha illallah. He knew the meaning of La ilaha illallah. He applied it from day one, La ilaha illallah, until the last second of his life. Satan had no chance. Satan had no chance on him. He tried. And wallahi, he would try to the most strongest believer. But now that the Almighty Lord safeguards and preserves the soldiers of his. And indeed, that young man, rahmatullah alayhi, true story, was a soldier of Allah Ta'ala. Imagine dying on that way. Imagine dying on the battlefield, raising the flag of La ilaha illallah. As Allah says clearly, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ فَرِحِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَيَسْتَبْشِرُونَ بِالَّذِينَ لَمْ يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ أَلَّا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ الله أكبر أَلَّا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Do not think of those who are killed in the path of Allah Ta'ala as dead. Do not think of those who are killed in the path of Allah Ta'ala as dead. They are alive with Allah Ta'ala, with provisions. They rejoice of that which Allah has bestowed upon them of His bounty, rejoicing for those brothers who have not come yet, saying, fear not, O brothers, fear not nor grieve. Allahu Akbar. They're up there saying, O people on the battlefield, O Muslims, fear not and do not grieve. For indeed we have received what the Almighty Lord has promised us. Imagine this right now happening. Wallahi, it's happening now. Those who are in birds, green birds, their souls in green birds flying, saying, fear not, O Muslims on the battlefield, fear not nor grieve, for you are on the path of truth. The Almighty Lord has given us that which He has promised. We are waiting for you to rejoice with us. Imagine dying on that path. Or is it better to die on the path of humming some hypnotic evil lyric of some song? Or saying, Ya Habibti, Ya Habibi, when you die, as the majority of those evil Arabic songs mention. Isn't it nice to die while performing Hajj? When the man fell off his camel, his she-camel, he fell dead. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that this man will be resurrected, will be raised from his grave in a state of talbiyah. In a state of talbiyah. Imagine that. You come out of the grave, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, inna alhamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, ya Rab laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. Imagine that. Imagine that. Allahu Akbar. Imagine being raised while dying al-Hajj and saying, oh Allah, I have responded to your call, here I am. Allahu Akbar. Was it better dying while cheating the person in his scales, or doing a robbery, or backbiting, or slandering, or cursing? Is it better to die in that, or better than die in a state of talbiyah? Brothers and sisters, we have a chance. We are still living. This is the only chance that you ever have. Do not lose it. There is no tomorrow for you. There is no tomorrow. It is only today. For indeed the world is proving this. Thus, let us pick up our socks, insha'Allah ta'ala, and prepare ourselves for our final destination, the destination, insha'Allah ta'ala, of paradise and no other.